Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, and all other members of this Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing. My name is Ed Wasson. Thank you for having me here to speak with you regarding transnational crime. I was tasked to speak to you about a particular type of transnational crime of most significance and urgency and how to counter it. I'm going to talk to you about money laundering and exactly how to combat it through existing legal, banking, compliance, and anti-money laundering frameworks and advanced analytical methods. And this can all be easily at the tip of the spear in comprehensive and holistic approaches to getting tangible steel on target to combat all forms of transnational crime. Immense enhancement of the overall national and homeland security of the United States is to be gained here. Proactively detecting and countering this crime, money laundering, which can easily be accomplished if done correctly, counters all transnational or organized crime. With over 31 years of comprehensive training, education, and hands-on experience in law enforcement, military, intelligence, homeland security support, counter-drug, counter-terrorism, counterintelligence support, and anti-money laundering analysis, I bring a wealth of knowledge to this discussion, particularly in the area of transnational organized crime and terrorism. Senator Ben Clark spoke of, quote, this clear nexus between government corruption and transnational crime, end quote, during a 2016 congressional hearing. Of most paramount urgency while I discuss this with you is the fact that recent reports are that the transnational criminal organizations like the Camorra Mafia out of Naples, Italy, and others have colluded with terrorist groups, according to a 2022 report by Robert Kramer. Globalization didn't just benefit the transnational elites and the multinational corporations, but also organized crime and terrorist elements. Suspected money laundering scenarios often connect with or trigger investigations into a variety of additional crime. Wire fraud, 18 U.S. Code Section 1343, mail fraud, 18 U.S. Code Section 1341, racketeering, RICO, 18 U.S. Code Section 1961 through 1968, tax evasion, 26 U.S. Code Section 7201. Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1956, laundering of monetary instruments, is the main federal money laundering statute. It criminalizes financial transactions intended to conceal the proceeds of specified unlawful activities, or SUAs. The penalty for laundering of monetary instruments is up to 20 years in prison and hefty fines. Right off the bat, this lends itself to potential legislation to enhance criminal punishment for all crimes if they are linked to money laundering. U.S. attorneys potentially have better plea bargaining leverage as well. Then there is Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1957, engaging in monetary transactions and property derived from specified unlawful activity, which targets individuals who knowingly engage in financial transactions of more than $10,000 using criminal proceeds. This doesn't require intent to conceal, only that the funds are criminal and the person knows it. This carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. Some common anti-money laundering predicate offenses, or SUAs, or specified unlawful activities, are drug smuggling or drug trafficking, which is the manufacture, importation, sale, or any type of distribution effort of any type of controlled substances; fraud, which is all types of fraud, such as bank fraud, wire fraud, using interstate wires, including internet; mail fraud, securities fraud, healthcare fraud, tax fraud or evasion; fraud against individuals, organizations, or governments, that would be waste fraud and abuse as well; credit card fraud; computer fraud and abuse; and then there is a whole separate thing for corruption and bribery of public officials, domestic or foreign; misappropriation, theft, or embezzlement of public funds; fraud against individuals, organizations, or government; credit card fraud; computer fraud and abuse; and then there is corruption and bribery of public officials, domestic or foreign; misappropriation, theft, or embezzlement of public funds. This includes waste, fraud, and abuse. Then there's human trafficking and smuggling, trafficking in persons, or TIP or TIP, migrant smuggling, sexual exploitation, including of children, selling or buying of children, trafficking in human organs, and then there's organized crime, racketeering, RICO predicate offenses, which include participation in an organized criminal group and racketeering, with numerous violent crimes often attached, such as murder for hire, kidnapping, illegal restraint and hostage taking, robbery or theft, extortion or blackmail, and then there's additional financial crimes beyond fraud, such as counterfeiting currency, counterfeiting and piracy of products, insider trading and market manipulation, illegal gambling operations, concealment of assets, such as in bankruptcy. This brings us to trafficking and smuggling non-human, non-drugs, arms trafficking or illicit trafficking in firearms, violations of customs laws, trafficking in stolen goods, illicit trafficking in cultural goods such as arts and antiquities. Then there are also environmental crimes, illegal dumping, pollution, or trafficking in hazardous waste, illegal wildlife trafficking, including flora, fauna, and ivory. And finally, this brings us to the terrorism-related charges, such as providing material support and terrorist financing, and the actual acts of terrorism themselves, or being a foreign fighter. Other specific offenses include export control violations, promotion of unlawful activities, tax evasion, structuring or avoiding reporting requirements. Bank Secrecy Act BSA 31 U.S. Code Section 5311 through 5330 is not a criminal code per se, but a regulatory framework. Violations include failure to file currency transaction reports or CTRs, suspicious activity reports or SARs, or structuring transactions to avoid reporting thresholds. Penalties for violations include civil and criminal, including fines and imprisonment. The USA Patriot Act and updated USA Freedom Act in their current forms also provide rapid information sharing from financial institutions to law enforcement via the 314A, subpoena, National Security Letter or NSL, SAR support document request, keep account open or KAO, asset freeze, and other processes. We can always improve, but as you can see, adequate legal framework is already in place. Technology-wise, we have artificial intelligence now, or AI, machine learning, or ML, robotics process automation, or RPA, better data theory and pipelines, massive cloud data warehouses, more rapid information sharing techniques, and fraud or anti-money laundering, FRAML, dashboards for near real-time predictive analysis for regulatory compliance reporting and mitigating risk to the enterprise for financial institutions, as well as providing high-value leads for law enforcement. These are all capable of being combined right now as key elements for enterprise risk compliance management, or ERCM, regulatory compliance reporting, and not just disrupting networks of criminal activity, but potentially dismantling large operations. Advanced tools and processes exist and are in place right now in larger, more advanced banks and other financial institutions, and certainly within Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, and the intelligence community, or IC. The IC and many banks are using advanced analytical tools such as I2 and Palantir for link and network analysis to pinpoint key players and others and find hidden links, trends, or patterns in networks. This is crucial as it rapidly gives decision makers a visual of who is who, what is what, greatly enhancing briefing and understanding and accelerating the intelligence and justice cycle. So I want to tell you how this can work. The rapidity of the information flow from account to account of any transfer, or from a point of sale through the data pipeline and into the data warehouse through precision data theory and technology, and the AI, ML, RPA, and advanced analytics such as the I2 and Palantir for link analysis is going to immensely enhance the rapidity of SAR leads to law enforcement. AML dashboards collect transactional data from each suspicious activity report, where the suspected AML predicate offense, or SUA, is reasonably verified either by law enforcement contact with the bank or bank's law enforcement liaison officer, or by open source news reviews reporting arrests of the subjects listed in the SAR. After hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands of such SARs and their data are ingested in the AML dashboard, analysts can compare real-time transactions with previously known patterns for high degrees of certainty if the real-time patterns are similar to the previously reported activities. And if you're looking for success stories, I can tell you that from 2012 to 2019, during the global war on terror and subsequent U.S. special operations in Iraq and Syria against al-Qaeda and ISIS, I took reports on the Boston Marathon bombers, the Pulse nightclub shooter, the San Bernardino shooters, and numerous foreign fighter scenarios. I've also worked cases involving government officials such as Texas Senator Carlos Uresti, politically exposed persons globally, persons in non-governmental organizations like the United Nations, and organizations like National Education Association. My current research focuses on the transnational elite complex, transnational capitalist class, multinational corporations, and organized crime. In my bachelor's degree, my final paper was on CIA PSYOP since the end of World War II, and as we know from Loke K. Johnson and James Wirtz and others, the deep connections of the U.S. government, its OSS and later CIA and military intelligence, with mafias existed. I am supremely confident that employing sound AML techniques to tackle corruption and potentially transnational criminal organization and even detect clandestine activity can be a snap. While much of our reporting was reactive, after proactive media reviews, the FBI's Terrorist Financing Operations Section, or TFOS, when they were still active, had our number on speed dial, and we had numerous successes with them, Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI, and even the Canadian Security Intelligence Services, or CSIS, in very rapid, proactive information sharing that can potentially save lives while combating crime and terror. A case example I can share is that I worked a case regarding Jojan Bontnik, a Belgian teenager who converted to Islam and traveled as a foreign fighter to Syria to fight for ISIS. I found a network of foreign fighter facilitation activity and a likely safe house in Istanbul, Turkey, linked to Jojan and others. Further significance of this is that ISIS thought Jojan was an infiltrator and they never trusted him, so they detained him in a jail cell next to James Foley. Jojan's father, a former soldier, hired a mercenary group for potential hostage rescue of his son that ended in a transactional negotiated release, not a tactical HR operation. The implications of potentially developing a lead sooner to pull that data that I found to find the network sooner might make one shudder. Almost every serious crime has a financial footprint, and through these advanced methodologies and AML dashboards that analyze suspicious activity reports, backed by law enforcement liaison input or open source news confirmations, we can flag predicate crimes right after the transaction happens, more rapidly stopping the next crime or terrorist attack. With predictive analysis layered on top, the analysts and system learn patterns, flag anomalies, and anticipate criminal behavior in near real time. AML isn't just financial compliance, and this isn't theory. It's actionable intelligence. It's holistic global crime fighting at the tip of the spear. I say again, holistic and tip of the spear. I stand ready to answer any questions you may have. I will note that if a robust AML effort is made nationwide or regionally, we can also have ODNI, FBI, Homeland Security, or FinCEN basically put out a communication to banks and state and local law enforcement, because we will likely see transnational criminal organizations and others shift to crypto and bulk cash, and this is per a very recent FinCEN report. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and all other members.